As you know, the Google Pixel 6a was recently released. Some were confused about the timeline since the Pixel 6 and Pro versions came out almost 1 year ago, and the Pixel 7 is on the way to be released in October. For this reason, I've written up every single important detail of the Pixel 6a, Pixel 6, and Pixel 6 Pro so you can decide for yourself which one best suits your needs. It would be really nice if you could like this video and also subscribe to our channel so that we can keep pushing out new and informative content, specifically exciting and fun camera comparisons. Without further ado, let the facts speak. Let's start off with the launch dates to have a better understanding of the timeline that I just talked about. The Pixel 6 and 6 Pro were released on the same day on the 28th of October 2021. It was pretty hype because it was the first major revamp of the camera since the Pixel 2, as that one, along with the Pixel 3, 4, and 5 had pretty much the same sensor. While the 6 and 6 Pro have big upgrades in this area, the 6a is also using the same sensor as the older Pixel phones to cut down on the price. It's worth mentioning that the Pixel series already had really good cameras, so don't be disappointed. The 6a has a 12.2 megapixel main camera that's 27mm wide, while the 6 and the 6 Pro have upgraded 50 megapixel cameras that are 25mm wide. The 6a sensor is virtually identical to all the Pixel phones ranging from the Pixel 2 to the Pixel 5, so while it didn't get the 50 megapixel upgraded treatment, it's still a very good camera. You'd only realize the difference between them if you crop the photo in, and only then the difference between the sensors would come into light. Get it? Sensor? Light? But yeah, anyway, these photos all look great and almost identical with just varying differences of white balance, which aren't really based on the hardware or the software. Only difference based on the autofocus is that the 6a has PDAF, which stands for phase detection autofocus, while the base model and the Pro also have laser autofocus on top of this. Laser autofocus emits a beam of light from which the distance of the object can be determined. For this reason, the method will work in any lighting condition and improves the autofocus. The ultra-wide camera in comparison is completely identical between the three, all the way down to the aperture. I'm fairly certain if we were to remove the models of the phones, there would absolutely be no way for you to actually decide which one is which. The Pixel doesn't have an amazing ultra-wide camera by any means, but it's for sure good enough when you need it. The selfie camera is the same on the 6a and the base version with an 8 megapixel sensor and 24mm lens and can shoot video at 1080p 30 fps, while the 6 Pro has an 11.1 megapixel one with a 20mm lens and is able to do 1080p 60 fps as well as 30, but also 4K at 30 fps, which is a huge upgrade. I personally do see the difference, and I'm sure you do too, but respect to Google for still managing to provide adequate quality for their base and mid-range versions. Oh dude, are you serious? I told you guys to charge these phones before we went out. What are we gonna do now? The Anker 757 Powerhouse? I guess we could try it out. While charging our phones, I might as well get some work done. Presenting the first bestseller on Amazon right after its release, this power station is of immense quality. Perfect for climbers and campers, the premium LFP batteries inside remain healthy even after 3,000 charges, around 6 times longer lifespan than the industry average, so you'll most likely not need to buy another one of these for a very long time. With their trademarked HyperFlash, you're able to charge it from 0 to 80% in just 1 hour. It has a whopping 1500 watts output power and 1229 watt capacity, runs on clean and green solar power, and best of all, has a huge 5-year guarantee so you can keep your peace of mind. They've also got 2 smaller models for you, the Anker 521 and 535 Powerhouse, with the same long-lasting LFP batteries but smaller capacity. Click the link below if you like what you've seen and check out this cool product that can charge and power just about anything on the go. Some examples being charging a smartphone 97 times, keeping a fan powered for 28 hours straight, and even fully charging a laptop 17 times. Now that the phones are back at 100%, thanks to Anker for sponsoring this video, and let's get back to shooting some footage. I'd have no qualms about using any of these phones to take footage, and I think this is quite visible in the work that we did. The only one that has a telephoto camera though is obviously the Pro version with a 48 megapixel sensor and a 104mm wide lens. It can shoot at 4x and is one of the better zoom cameras out there when combined with Google's Super Res Zoom technology. You can take a look at our camera comparisons that include the Pixel 6 Pro to see how even their digital and hybrid zooms are pretty much better than all the flagships out there, even going head to head with the S22 Ultra in some situations. If you really like these kinds of comparisons, make sure to take a look at the huge camera comparison we did of the Pixel 6a along with two mid-range phones which also include the new Nothing Phone 1. Let's stay on track though and take a look at the build of these devices. It definitely affects how the phone feels in your hand and offers it some extra protection if you do end up dropping it, which eventually is probably gonna happen. To just get it out of the way, let me tell you that all three phones have an aluminum frame. The 6a has Gorilla Glass 3 front, which is decent, and it's rounded off with a plastic back. The Pixel 6 is protected by Gorilla Glass Victus on the front and by Gorilla Glass 6 on the back. The 6 Pro has Gorilla Glass Victus on both the front and the back, giving it maximum protection. These gadgets also have IP ratings, which usually does bump up the price of a device, but Pixel phones are definitely among the most affordable ones out on the market. The first number signifies how well something is protected against solids, for example, dust. And the second number also rings true, but this time for liquids like water. The 6a has an IP67 rating, while the 6 and 6 Pro both have IP68 ratings, which honestly doesn't change much besides the upgraded versions being able to go half a meter deeper in water. Note, do not, and I repeat, do not put your phone underwater and try to take photos and stuff like how Sony first marketed their waterproof Xperia phones. I had one and I tried it, and let's just say it didn't go so well. This protection is purely for accidents, alright? Moving on. The display is an OLED one that supports HDR on the 6a side, while the base model has an AMOLED screen that supports a 90Hz refresh rate and also HDR10+. The 6 Pro though has an LTPO AMOLED screen that can go up to 120Hz, and it also supports HDR10+ like the base model. LTPO means that your screen can operate at variable refresh rates, which reduces your battery consumption. For example, if you switch from watching a video to reading a text, the refresh rate can drop all the way down to 1 Hz, which is a really useful feature. The size of the phones obviously changes well due to the displays. 6.1 inches for the 6a, 6.4 inches for the 6, and 6.71 inches for the 6 Pro is fairly standard, and I think it makes sense to have it this way. Speaking of the displays, the resolution is the same for the mid-range and base models at 1080 by 2400, while the 6 Pro has a gorgeous 2K screen at 1440 by 3120. They all have the same chipset, which happens to be Google's new baby, the Google Tensor. The performance obviously isn't up to par with Snapdragon standards or even the Bionic, but give it time. I have faith that it will get there. The 6a comes equipped with 6 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of storage, while the base model has 8 gigs of RAM with the same storage that can be upgraded to 256 gigs. The 6 Pro on the other hand has 12 gigs of RAM and the storage goes all the way up to 512 gigs, which in my opinion is maybe a bit unnecessary, but hey, maybe you like downloading a lot of stuff, who knows. We'll be rounding up the video with the different batteries that are plugged into these devices. The 6a has a 4400 10mAh lithium polymer battery with 18W fast charging, while the 6 hosts a 4600 14mAh one, but instead of lithium polymer, it's lithium ion. Added on will be 30W fast charging, and Google advertises it as being able to go to 50% in 30 minutes. It also has fast wireless charging at 21 watts as well as reverse wireless charging. Lastly, the 6 Pro has a 5003mAh lithium-ion battery that has the same fast charging and reverse charging values as the base model. In conclusion, these phones are actually similar in more ways than you may think, but one last difference is the price. The 6a costs $450, while the base model has dropped all the way down to around $500. The Pro version is a bit more costly, but it has also been discounted to around $750. Check your budget before making a decision, and I hope you liked and learned a lot from this comparison. If you did, give those like and subscribe buttons a click so that we can keep on going. Thanks in advance guys, and I'll see you in the next video.